Morning. Is keynote good? Okay, I missed it because I'm a jerk. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. First of all, has anybody heard of Jewelbots before?
Yes.
Okay, a couple people. Has anybody gotten a chance to play with them yet? Yeah, you don't count. You can keep your hand down. All right, so that's fun. So we'll do a bit of playing today. But before we get started, I want to say thanks to all our sponsors. A lot of work goes into putting on a conference like this to bring speakers in and have such amazing venues. So be sure to show some love to the sponsors for helping us put this on. A little bit about me. My name is Jennifer Wadella. You can follow me on Twitter at @OMGIt'sFuddy. I do warn people that I live tweet a trashy reality TV show called The Bachelor. So you have been warned. This is your one warning. By the way, is anybody going to PubConf on Friday night?
What is it?
PubConf? Okay, you need to come. It will change your life. So PubConf is an after-conference party where it is Ignite-style talk. So you've got 5 minutes, 20 slides, 15 seconds a slide, and they auto-progress. So you have no clicker, you have no control, but I will be doing if choosing a JavaScript framework was like an episode of The Bachelor, and it is going to be stellar. And there are going to be a lot of phenomenal talks, but that'll be Friday night, and tickets should be going on sale, so keep an eye out for those. Anyway, I am a JavaScript developer by day. I work at a small legal tech startup in the US, writing Angular 2. Community organizer, I'll talk a little bit more about that and kind of how that plays into my love of Jewelbots and discovery of Jewelbots. Big diversity advocate, and I'm actually a self-taught programmer. So that kind of plays into my mentality and my approach when I talk about education tools and getting girls involved in coding. This is where I'm from, Kansas City. It's in the middle of the US, and people are like, oh, where are you from? The States. And I'm like, literally in the middle. Like, nobody cares about where we are. We're nowhere glamorous. But the cool thing is we are a fun little city, but nobody realizes how cool we are. So I can get in a cocktail bar with no wait. 5 years ago, I founded a nonprofit. My slides are freaking out, called Kansas City Women in Technology, because I realized that I loved code, but there weren't a lot of women that I was able to interact with. And so I launched this organization basically to meet more friends. But what happened was we had this huge launch party, like 200, 300 people attended. And I don't think I met a single other female software engineer there. It was a ton of people that were women who were wanting to get into technology, wanting to get into coding, kind of didn't know how to break into the industry, and a bunch of educators who wanted to figure out how to bring code in their classrooms. They understood the importance and just had no idea how to get started. And I like to tell this because it really shaped the trajectory of the organization. So today, as it stands, we run a variety of different programs. The first one we launched was Coder Dojo. Is anybody familiar? Yeah, so Coder Dojo is a global nonprofit founded in Ireland, and so we've been running a chapter in Kansas City for about 5 years now. And we target that at, I say kids 7 through 17, but normally we'll tell parents if the kids can read and write and use the mouse, they're going to be fine to participate. And we run it very Socratic style. So no matter what the kiddo's experiences, if they've never done coding in their life, or maybe they're in high school and they've gone through every coding class and they've gone to their teachers and are like, what do I do next? And the teachers are like, I don't know. We try and make sure we can support them. And so we run it where we'll have some sort of programmatic topic, like it might be inputs, or it might be for loops, or it might be random or something like that. And then we let them choose whatever their language is, whether it's a Scratch project or whether it's JavaScript, or we did have a kid one time come in and he's like, I want to learn SQL. And we're like, okay, found a tutorial, got him up and running, but try and keep it very open like that. The other thing we do there is we don't just teach coding. We want to create the engineers of tomorrow, right? So one of the things that we do is we have the kids get up on stage and they present their projects at the very end. And so we're teaching them presentation skills, we're teaching them how to explain and walk through their code and their logic. And it's really funny because we'll do a call for presentations normally around 11:15 in the morning. And these kids that have been there for several years now, if we're not calling for presentations at 11:15, they're lining up and they're like, you haven't called for presenters yet. I need to check in my project. And we're like, whoa, okay. So it's really cool to have built this community and this organization where the kids are really excited to code and show off their projects, and they get mastery badges and all sorts of stuff. So that's a little bit about. Why don't I have display anymore? Sad face. Anyway, really? No. Okay, he'll work on that while I babble. But one of the really interesting things we noticed when we were promoting Coder Dojo to parents was we'd be at a school tech night or something like that. And I'd have the programmer dads see Coder Dojo, and they'd run up and they'd be like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I can't wait to bring my kids to this. I'll bring my daughter. And a lot of times from moms, we would hear something along the lines of, well, I don't think my daughter would like this, so I'm going to bring my son. And so it was really interesting that we were having like parents saying, oh no, this isn't for girls, before the girl had even tried it. So what do? We brand it, we make it pink, we make it really girly, we invent coding in cupcakes, and all of a sudden the moms can't wait to get in, even though the code underneath is the exact same. So that was the inspiration for that program, and when Jewelbots came out, I was really, really excited. We've since integrated that in the curriculum, and I'll talk a little bit about that more. And the other funny thing is we launched coding in cupcakes. Everybody's really excited to get girls learning to code. But we had a ton of women email, and they're like, well, I don't have a daughter, but can I come learn to code anyway? And so, you know, it would have worked there, but that was the inspiration for our other program, which is Coding in Cocktails. And so that's our programming series for women wanting to learn to code. It's an 11-month series, more targeted towards front-end development, and yes, tasty craft cocktails instead of cupcakes, which go over very well. We run a variety of other kind of weekend-long workshops. We do Django Girls, which is kind of a global project. We're going to be doing Rails Girls for the first time this November. If you're ever interested in doing this kind of work in your city, there are all these really amazing like bootstrap ready-made projects that they've got branding, they've got tutorials, they've got everything. All you have to do is get a couple people excited about getting more women in tech and run your own workshop. So if you like anything I talk about today and want to figure out a way to bring that to your hometown, a lot of great resources, and I'm more than happy to talk your ear off all day. Anyway, so what inspired this talk, and that was definitely repeatedly getting asked this question at conferences by engineers. Sorry, I'll lose my hoodie. These lights are bright. Okay, so let's take a step back first and kind of figure out what's going on. Like, why is this such a big deal? Why are we having to try so hard to get girls into technology in the first place? Why are we having this issue at all? So a couple big things happen because unfortunately there's no one magic reason as to why we're having this problem, but psychological barriers are huge, things we've set up by society. Definitely a lack of encouragement and role models. Gender-based marketing is huge. Like frickin' marketers, we can blame everything on them because they really shot us in the foot when it comes to what's appropriate for boys and what's appropriate for girls. And just this idea that tech isn't necessarily made for girls, which is why I love seeing something like this, because this screams, yes, tech is for you. And then again, we really don't understand the amount of pressure we have from society that really affects everything we do. And so that's not something that we can change or solve that problem overnight, but it is significant to understand. Anybody familiar with any of these? Okay. So it's really interesting. If you look at my pathway into coding as a self-taught engineer, is I didn't start coding to write code. I started coding to create things because this was the internet of my childhood. It was fugly. Like, we had a really ugly internet. And part of the beauty of that is you would create and you would write code to express yourself and bye Neopets. All right, it's back. You would write code and like, to express yourself, and you'd embed music on your Zynga page, or you'd have like some quote or phrase or like background that I was like, oh my gosh, I like this guy and he doesn't even know I exist, and all my teenage angst. But the point was, it was there to create, it was there to be built. And today we're in this very interesting space where we have, you know, Snapchat and Instagram and these gorgeous ready-made things that allow no customization. And so we have a generation that is more interested in consumption than creation. And so we're losing that organic pathway. So we have to be more conscious about getting people into code because they're not coding to make things pretty or making things better because it's already so pretty, and we've completely lost that. And so it's kind of interesting the way that plays in. And you talk to a lot of women my age, and they're going to know exactly what all this is. And they're going to tell you about their GeoCities website page and how they got into technology. And it wasn't to start coding, it was to create. And so we need to get back to this idea of creation to get kids excited. When we talk about psychological issues with girls, this study changed my life. This was a study done on 10-year-old boys and girls who had high IQs. And the results of the study showed something really interesting. The higher the boy's IQ, the more aggressively and challengingly he took to the curriculum. So the harder it was, the harder he tried to figure it out. Girls, complete opposite. The higher their IQ was, the more quick they were to drop the curriculum. and drop attempting it. And so they were kind of like, okay, what's going on? These kids are only 10, right? Society can't have affected them that much yet. And they started looking at the way we're talking to boys and the way we're talking to girls to figure out what's going on here. And if you think about kids at that age, they do mature a little differently, right? So boys might be a little more rowdy, a little more rambunctious, and girls tend to be like more on task and more focused. And so we're telling the boys, hey, you, pay attention. Hey, you can do this if you just keep trying. Like, settle down, concentrate, you can do this. But the girls are getting it right away, and they're getting told, oh, you're so good. Oh, you're so smart. Oh, this is perfect. Oh, you're so perfect. And so the boys are being told to keep trying, and the girls are being praised for something they've already done. And so the girls are having this idea that intelligence is innate. It is a set trait. They have like this much intelligence, and that's it. So if they can't figure something out, then, oh, they just don't have any more intelligence in their jar, and that's as far as they can go. But we're encouraging boys, and we're telling them, hey, just keep trying, and you can figure this out. And anybody who's spent any amount of time programming realizes sometimes you might not figure something out right away. And if you have this mentality of, oh, I'm just not smart enough, like I can't figure out this problem, then that's going to severely hamper your success. And this is definitely something that plagued me my entire adult life, because I was somebody who was very bright in school, all AP classes, like Spanish National Honor Society, all the extracurriculars. And I got to college, having never been challenged in my life, and I was flunking macroeconomics. And I was just crying to my mom on the phone every night because clearly I'm too stupid to be in college. And I'd just never been challenged before, and so I just assumed, no, I'm not smart enough to be here. And then as soon as I read the study, I was like, mind blown, life changed. And so it's really important to understand how this is playing in, and then how that affects how we need to be talking to girls. So we need to be encouraging them and praising them on efforts and figuring out the hardest thing. When we talk about Coder Dojo, we have the kids come up and present their projects, and we ask them to tell the audience, what was the hardest thing you had to figure out? Because we want them thinking about those challenges and the way they overcame those challenges, and to get that idea of they can figure out anything. The sky is the limit, right? As long as you keep trying, you can figure it out. And we want engineers who are not going to be, reading a textbook, right, and just doing everything according to the textbook. We want people who are going to build and create the future. And the only way we can do that is if we have this mentality of, the sky is the limit. As long as you put effort in, as long as you keep trying, you can do anything. We suffer from a severe lack of role models in the technical industry. Yes.
Question.
Yes.
We'll probably get to this, in which case you just tell me to get back in my box. So I've got two girls. How do you deal with, are you just, at the end of the day, should we be tougher on girls?
Should we be tougher on girls?
I mean, the boys, let's keep trying, or that's not good.
Yeah.
Almost made it. Or, you know what I mean? Are we...
I think the best we can do is be very conscious about the effects our words have. Yeah. And so if we are praising effort and praising commitment to continue learning and continuing doing better, I think that's a better approach than thinking about necessarily being tougher. And it's not that the boys don't need that, it's just a lot of times they're already getting that message. And so just being very conscious about the way we talk to girls, especially like when they're young. Girls are right out of the gate praised for how pretty they are, and oh, her cute curly hair. And so like we're not even doing that, we're trying to be nice human beings, right? But we're accidentally sending the message that that is her value, that is her worth. So I don't think it's about being tougher. I think it's about being very conscious in our words and the messages we're sending. Because I don't think anybody ever, well, maybe a couple people like Google Manifesto people, but nobody really set out to say, oh, I don't want women in tech. So if we can be more conscious and more aware of the impact that our words have on others, I think that is a key thing to consider. Okay, anyway, so don't have a lot of great role models. Because I'm pretty sure no little girl is going to look up to Richard here, who was flipping out about tabs versus spaces, and say, I want to be like that when I grow up. We also have this idea that tech isn't made for girls. Actually, Pebble, I'm still sad about it, but Pebble smartwatch came out, and I think the original colors were black, white, and red. And they did these special edition launches where they had this really pretty cerulean blue and a lime green and a pink. And heaven frickin' forbid that you make a pink tech product. And Reddit was pissed, because why on earth would girls want tech things? And so this is a message that we're getting. It's like, no, women don't deserve to be here. Like we shouldn't have products that are marketed towards us. And so this kind of thing does happen, and it does creep into this idea of women don't belong in the tech space. And this is a little bit like what I talked about earlier, is girls are subjected to such a higher level of scrutiny from birth. And so they're going to be concerned about how they look and their social status and the things that society is coaching them to be. And tech, a lot of times, doesn't fit in that society's idea of what girls should do or what girls should be, and they really realize that very, very quickly. And so that kind of plays into why we need to be creating products that girls feel are acceptable. Because again, society, we are not going to change that overnight, right? Like, society is what it is, and we can make small changes, but for now, we need to give girls tools to be successful in ways that we're not going to set them up for failure or to be bullied or to be that girl at LAN parties on Friday night playing her Halo with her buddies and getting made fun of it. Like, that still happens. I'm not that old, and that's still the way I grew up, is being mocked for my interest in technology. So it does matter. So let's talk about some of the ways we can help, and Jewelbots are a big play into this, but we can expose them to new opportunities. So coding classes, Jewelbots, encouragement, everything like that. We can give them positive reinforcement for hard work and perseverance, keeping trying, being very conscious about the kind of feedback we're giving them. We can introduce them to female role models, and we can help her wardrobe reflect her empowerment. I remember being a little girl, and I was super excited for the new Star Wars to come out. And I really wanted a Star Wars shirt. I love Star Wars shirts, but they didn't make Star Wars shirts for girls. Why would girls want Star Wars shirts? So I literally had to shop in the boys section to get a Star Wars shirt, because it just was blasphemous that women might possibly be interested in something sci-fi related. And how we dress and how we show our personalities, that's a big deal. So has anybody heard of Simone Yurts? Okay, a couple of hands. She is one of my favorite female role models. As she calls herself the queen of shitty robots, or the more age-appropriate queen of wonderfully craptastic machines. But the reason I like her as a role model is it's one thing to see like an engineer for NASA or something like that. Like, they're sending a rocket into space. That's really hardcore. That's really unattainable. But you show a little girl a shitty robot, and she's gonna be like, I could totally build a shitty robot, right? Like, it's very endearing and it's very attainable. And so it's just like this really fun approach to technology that's not at all intimidating. And so she's one of my favorite resources to use to get girls excited about coding, because there's no intimidation factor there, right? Like, some of her robot videos are just great because they're so catastrophic that it makes them really approachable. We can, again, help her wardrobe affect her empowerment. These are a bunch of different shirts. The Gap in the US has finally started selling some cool ones. There's actually a woman where I'm from, Kansas City. Her website is Crossing Arrows, and I've got these linked. They're kind of hard to see over, but I'll share my slides afterwards. But she's done this Future Coder shirt or the Squad Goals shirt because she had a daughter who wasn't necessarily finding clothing in stores that reflected who she felt she was, so she set out to change this. So that leads us right into Jewelbots, which I have created my nice, pretty custom branded straps because I'm girly and understand how society judges me. Also, they're fun. But what are Jewelbots? Friendship bracelets for the iPhone era, as they say. They're technology enabled, they're Bluetooth enabled, so they can communicate with each other, and they light up and can buzz and send messages to each other. The great thing about this is there's a huge social component, right? Because we still have this stigma that programming is like a dude in a hoodie in a dark room, and again, like, little girls don't want to do that. They want to be with friends and socializing and doing the things that are important to them, which is why Jewelbots are great for solving that problem. They're meant to be coded with friends, but you can code them on your own. They were created by Sarah Chips and Brooke Moreland. Sarah is known for creating Girl Develop It, which is an organization that has clubs all over the world teaching women how to code, and so this is very much her passion area. All right, we're back. Features. It's programmed via the Arduino IDE, and so this is really great because there's so much support already that it's a really great tool, and the fact that it's built on top of that makes it very accessible and easy for people to figure out who've had background in that. Very much encourages social coding. One of the things that I really like is there's a forum community for support and ideas, because again, like, we need to be building community and teaching girls it's okay to like code and have fun and make friends, and so it's good that they have a support area for that, and it is open source. And so when I talked earlier about like the creation versus consumption, when we start to look at the API, you might look at this as like a more experienced engineer and be like, okay, that's a pretty limited API. Like, why is this such a big deal? But the cool thing about coding with kids is they will get their first little thing working, right? And then all of a sudden it's just like you see their little minds explode and they're like, well, I want it to do this, I want it to do this, I want it to do this. And the second they realize that isn't supported by the API, they're like, well, how do I make it happen? Boom, all of a sudden you've got a 6-year-old that's interested in open source contribution because they wanted to do more. And so the great thing is, when we have these limited things that have these built-in boundaries, the kids just want to break through them. And again, those are the kind of engineers we want to create for tomorrow. We want to create people who are going to break through boundaries and build new and amazing things. And so it's kind of cool that Jewelbots are such an easy transition into that. There may or may not be a dad in this room whose daughter was not okay with the very limited colors and inspired an entire new line of colors like rose and sea and orange and gold. So again, like that's the great thing about kids in coding is they don't accept limits, they don't accept boundaries, and they're like, I'm gonna make this happen, how can I do it? Okay, so if you've never worked with Arduino or with Jewelbots before, we'll kind of walk through the setup real quick. Don't worry about taking notes or anything like this. I'll always share my slides. And cool thing, it's available in their documentation, so you can teach your daughters how to read the docs. But you're going to need a Jewelbot bracelet, and so these are going to be included in the kit that you buy, and it comes with a micro USB, so you don't have to worry about that. Obviously, you're going to need a computer. We can't really code them with anything yet, and it does need to be a computer that is able to download a product. Arduino does offer a web-based IDE, but we need to download specific boards for Jewelbots, and they don't support that functionality yet. So you do need a computer that you have admin privileges to download software. And I joke about that because we run a lot of workshops, and we'll have parents coming in with work computers with some sysadmin on a high horse who won't let them download anything. So do need a computer that can download the Arduino IDE. So when we get started, and I'm going to pull this up for you, what we have to do first is we have to bring our Jewelbots boards in that are going to give us all the code that we need to work with. So if we go in and pull up Arduino, and I'm really sorry I cannot make my preferences bigger for you guys to see, but there's this additional boards manager URL, and this is just where you're going to paste into there, restart your IDE, and you'll have access to those boards. So that's that step, and so we'll hit OK, we'll restart our IDE, and then when we go and look at our tools, this is where we'll find our boards, and you can see these are kind of the default ones that are going to come with the IDE, and then down here we've got our 3 different Jewelbots boards, and so we've got 3 ones. We've got solo coding mode, which is just if you want to do stuff on your own that you don't really need to worry about the Bluetooth or the friendship library, that's your solo coding mode. Anytime they roll out firmware updates, like cool new colors inspired by the community, you can do your factory firmware update to get the latest there. It's also a really good, if you're ever having like a Jewelbot that's just being like squirrely and running some weird code or you can't get it, you can upload a blank factory firmware update board and it'll wipe everything clean for you. And then you've got friendship coding mode, and we'll talk through the different functions here. But this is what you're going to use when the Jewelbots talk to each other and want to do cool things when they're in range of each other. Okay, so friendship mode is, I think, the funnest thing here. And I've actually never been to Sydney before, so I need like 2 friends to come help me demo. Anybody want to be my friend? I got a friend there. Are you going to be my friend? All right. So have you guys come up on stage, and you have to stay on this side of the line. Okay, so you can choose your Jewelbot. Go ahead and put that might fit around your wrist.
Oh, could you give me a hand?
Yes. I made my custom straps, and I'm not the best sewer in the entire world, so.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, these are custom.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, I was about to say, I should show you, where's my bag? Oh, here we go. Yeah, they come with a custom orange band and a gray band, so. Yes, I'm bougie, so I had to make my own. All right, got that? Yes. So that way the camera can see your excellent demoing capabilities. So if you ever have any difficulty pairing or they're like acting up or not doing the right thing, what you can do is you can upload a blank firmware sketch and that'll kind of get them in the right place if anything weird is going on. So that's why I've got this little reminder up here. But I'm going to give you guys pairing instructions for how to pair your Jewelbots, so you can see up here. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn them on. And so you do that by pressing the magic button once. So there's just one button in the middle, and you can kind of feel it press down. And when you press it and let go, it's going to circle the lights. And you might have to, it's bright up here. And that'll turn it on. Did it buzz?
I saw a little red light.
You did? Okay. And you're in pairing mode, so just click it once. Okay, so they're both on now. So we're going to, first of all, when we pair them, what we do is we hold it down for 2 seconds. But in Jewelbots, we count special. Anytime we're going to do, it's okay, I'll explain it. When we say we're going to hold down for 2 seconds, what we do is we always say 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. So it's not just 1, 2. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and anytime I'm abroad, I have to explain. So we have a state in the U.S. called Mississippi, and so it's kind of a running joke. But like when little kids are playing hide and go seek, right, and they're like counting to 10, instead of a kid being like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then like going to find the kids, you have to count to 10 Mississippi, and so you're like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. So that's the cultural nuance there. All right, so to pair, what you guys are going to do is you're going to press and hold down your magic button for 2 Mississippi. Okay, and when it's in pairing mode, it's going to bring this pretty cerulean. Too long, you turned it off.
Oh.
All right, so it's turning back on. All right. And try it again. All right. Yep. Now 1 Mississippi. No. Okay. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. There we go. All right. So once they're both in pairing mode, one of them is going to start circling colors. So if you can see his, it's going to go cerulean, red, green, and blue. And those are your different friendship colors that you can pick from. So what color friends do you guys want to be?
You choose.
All right, let's go green.
All right, so you press it on the color you want, and then they're going to sync up, and then they will both now be green friends.
I'm green.
Mine's still blue.
It'll take a second. Yep.
Wow, look at that.
Woo! You guys are friends. All right. So now you guys are friends, so you're cool now, but I need a friend. So let me go ahead and get mine on. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn mine on. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Do you want to be my friend?
Sure.
All right, so put yours into pairing mode again.
So hold down.
Yep. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. All right, so we're blinking. So now we're both in pairing mode. All right, and so now hers is flashing, so let's be blue friends. Press the middle.
Oh, that one?
Yeah. Oh, you're fine.
You're red friends.
We'll go. Okay.
There we go. Okay. So there's a blue. Mine should light up blue in a second. Sweet.
There we go.
Okay, so mine is solidly blue. Yes, and so she's super cool. She's super popular. She has 2 different friends. And so what's going to happen is anytime you're in range of your friends, it's going to light up with the color that's around. So if one of you were to like run down the hallway, you would now be out of Bluetooth range, and then your lights would go away because you weren't in range of your friends. So when you're in range, you're able to message your friends. So we're going to teach you how to message next. Okay, so what we're going to do to message, let me make sure. There we go. All right, is we're going to click our button once to put it into messaging mode. So I'll have you demo first. Yep. And so what it's going to do is it's going to rotate the different lights of friends you have in range. So you can pick which one of us you want to message by clicking on our clicking the middle button when it's cycling to our color. All right, so you're going to message your green friend and then hold it down for like 1 Mississippi to send him a buzz.
Did I do that right?
We'll find out when he gets a buzz. The last time I gave this demo, somebody had like a really loud vibrating phone in the audience. And we kept thinking it was going. Did you get it?
Not yet.
Maybe I didn't.
All right, try it again. Press it on green again. Let go. So you're pressing once to select the friend you want to message.
Oh, first I've got to do that again. Don't
Yeah,
I?
so click it once and it'll start cycling again.
Okay.
Yeah, click it. There you go. All right. And then select him. Yep. And then try and.
1 Mississippi.
Yep. And you can send like different length buzzes, but it's sometimes easier to start with the 1 Mississippi.
I got it.
Woo!
This is fun.
Okay. So it's good to like kind of get the timing down because you want to understand like that it takes practice and it takes effort and it's not going to like work right away. And hey, that's a lot like technology, right? We have to debug and figure out what's going on. And so it's good to figure out how to encourage girls. So I'm going to have you guys take your Jewelbots off and pass them around the audience. And if you would like to practice buzzing each other, you'll notice that I'm a blue friend, so if you can buzz me while I'm up on stage and practice messaging, so you guys can pass those around while I walk through the API. But so that's how we pair our Jewelbots and how we send messages. Again, all this documentation is available on the website, but you can kind of see how it'll take a little practice to get timing down, but the great thing is, oh, somebody buzzed me. Nice. You can see how fun it is. So like when we do our Jewelbots workshops, at Coding and Cupcakes, we'll kind of start and we'll have a couple girls get up to demo. And I remember a couple months ago, we had a session and like there's this little girl and she came with her dad and he is like shoving her in the room. She is just like shy and doesn't want to talk to anybody and just like doesn't want to be there. And he like forces her to go and demo up on stage. And so she pairs with the girl and like they're able to pair. And then all of a sudden she is running around the room trying to pair with everybody and have all the different friends. And so it's just like, it's so much fun and it's such a simple thing, right? But to get that excitement and get that engagement, it's just the best feeling in the world. Clicker. All right. So let's walk through the API. Again, really cool thing is it's all documented on the website. And so instead of just telling the answers, we can start to read the API together and start to understand, like, how do I figure out how to make this technology work? And they're like, oh, well, how do I make it do rainbows? I don't know. Let's go look at the docs. And so we can kind of teach them how to be self-sufficient by reading and figuring out the answers for themselves instead of, you know, just asking. Which I feel like is really hard because programmers were like know-it-alls and we want to tell the answer all the time to prove how smart we are. But you gotta restrain that urge and encourage people to discover for themselves. But when we start to look at the Jewelbots, and I'm gonna, actually I'll just use this one. This is kind of how we figure out what's going on with this handy little diagram. So you can see how this lines up. We've got our magic button in the middle. We've got our USB port here. And so these are the different light coordinates. So we've got our 4 different LEDs, and this is how we target which one we want to do. So originally, in the original release, we only had like this many colors, but we've added all these new ones in the latest firmware update, so it's very, very exciting. And if one thing gets girls excited that age, it's being able to customize colors. When we're not doing Jewelbots workshops, we do web development workshops, and oh, the magic when they discover the CSS and can change the background color and the fonts. And it's really funny because the moms will be like, oh, those colors clash, and they don't even care, and it's fun. Okay, so the first thing we have is we have our LED control. You can hold on to it because I'll call you guys back up on stage later. So this is how we control our different LEDs. And again, API looks really, really simple, but this is incredibly readable. Like if you look at this, turn on single, you know exactly what that means. And so we've taken down this like threatening code, right? And we have something very human readable that's very easy to understand. So this is how we can begin to play with all our different LEDs. So you've got to turn on single, which you're going to pass it the parameters of whatever coordinate you want and whatever color you want. And again, you talk about a really easy way to start teaching code. You know, talking about parameters, very easy concept here, right? Where we're like, okay, we're going to give it this instruction and this instruction. You've got something very visible and very tangible to teach code-wise. We can turn on all, we can turn off single, we can turn off all, we can flash, which is kind of very much like a flash where we can give it a different time length and a different coordinate, or we can flash all. So again, pretty basic, but very easy, very readable. And the cool thing is, like, you can just do something very simple, like turn on a single LED, and the second they upload that code to their Jewelbot, and it turns that color that they have selected, boosh! It's like hello world moment times infinity. So the really great thing about coding with hardware is it's so immediate, it's so tangible, and they've really, really created something. We've got a couple different animations that come with the Jewelbots. We've got a rainbows color that's going to cycle around. We've got the Jewelbots color, which is a variation on their rainbow plus their logos. And then we've got a breathe single color, which instead of a flash is going to be more of a breath. And so you can do some kind of cool effects like that. So those are our very custom animations. And the cool thing is, again, very readable, very easy to understand. When we're declaring variables, we're like, oh yeah, I need my animation. Next we have our buzzer, and these are probably my favorite functions because we've got an extra short buzz, a medium buzz, a really long buzz, and a custom buzz. So again, very fun, very readable. But the great thing is we look at this custom buzz, and you can kind of, again, begin to figure out, because it's going to allow you to set the intensity of how hardcore the buzz is and how long it's going to go for. So again, very easy to understand, very immediate, very tangible, but still very readable and unintimidating. Okay, so we talk about the magic button, which is the one button in the middle, and so these are where you can define what's going to go on when you press the button. So for instance, when we press the button down for to Mississippi, that would be our button press long, and so we can write our custom functions that we would want to happen when we're doing a button press long. I end up using the charging button press a lot, so that way I can be testing my Jewelbot while it's plugged into my computer, so that'll register when you press the button while it's plugged in. So kind of fun utilities that you can use like that. And then these are some other functions that I just find helpful when I'm like, you know, kind of testing and debugging and messing around. But we can do set run loop charging, which means it's going to execute that run loop when it's plugged in, so you don't have to keep like plugging it and unplugging it. We can allow Arduino coding, which is going to allow us to do some custom if and for statements, and then some printing if you need it. I haven't had to use it a whole ton, but people are very visual, and sometimes if you don't have a console log or something like that, you're like, oh my God, what is happening? I don't know. So that is available there for you. Okay, when we get into our friendship library, we just have these really basic ones that are only going to light up when you have red friends around, when you have green friends around, blue or cyan. And so you can kind of change these based on whatever friendship pairings your colors are. And so this is basically just going to return a true or false, and it's going to be constant. So that will execute for as long as your red friends are in range or your blue friends are in range. And we'll kind of walk through some demo code so you guys can see how these work. So let's take a look at that, and I'm going to have to, I need like a USB-C adapter that has as many USBs as I need for this presentation because it's always a pain. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is let's do some friendship coding. So if I can get my demoers back up on stage with Jewelbots, I'm going to give you fancy code. Okay. So let's see, you have the 2 friends right now, or?
Yep, I'm the one.
Oh, yours is in messaging mode. Okay.
Uh-oh. Is that good?
Wait, you have 2 friends. Yeah, you're fine. All right, I'm gonna take yours first. Okay, so right now her Jewelbot is just lighting up blue when blue friends are in range and green when green friends are in range. What if we wanted it to light up a rainbow when you have friends in range? It's cool if you're 8 years old, I promise. All right, so if I want to start uploading code to my Jewelbots, and be very careful when you pull these caps off. Unfortunately, these are little pieces of plastic and you can rip them apart easily. And when the girls do that, there's a lot of tears and drama and crises. So just be aware when doing that. All right, and let me, there's my phone. Get this set up real quick so you guys can see what I am doing. Okay, bye audio. All right. Sorry, I have all the things. All right, there we go. My computer hasn't had its coffee yet, apparently. All right, there we go. Now you guys can see what's going on. Okay. Bloop. I guess it doesn't matter. Okay, and just let me know if it like goes out of range or you guys can't see what's going on. Stay. All right. So I've got my USB that I'm going to pull up and get started. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and plug this in. It's so awkward to mirror. All right. Okay, so it's, sorry, I'm trying to get the lighting right so you guys can see, but when it's plugged in and right, it's gonna have that red light. You can kind of see, sorry, it's like really bright up here. Okay, so to get our Jewelbots into uploading mode, we need to hold down for 2 Mississippi. So we're gonna do, should I block the light? Okay, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and it's gonna flash magenta. Sorry, it's so bright up here. Okay, but so when it's magenta, it's going to be in uploading mode, and you're set to upload your code. Okay, so I've got some basic code here, and it's saying if see green friends, we're going to do this, and we are green friends, so that'll definitely light up. It's going to do a rainbow animation. It's going to pause, and then it's going to turn on all green, so that way we know we're lighting up rainbow for our green friends, and then it's going to pause, and it will just repeat that loop for infinity. Okay. So to get everything ready, you have to do a couple steps. First of all, we have to make sure we're in the right board. And so because we're doing friendship coding, we want to make sure we have our friendship coding board selected. We need to make sure that we have our USB port selected to tell it where to upload the code to. And then we need to have our Jewelbot in uploading mode. Okay, perfect. All right, now I can go ahead, and this little button up here is our upload code, and it's going to print out some messages to our console down here. And as long as it says device uploaded, we're going to be fine. They've got a couple weird bugs of stuff that looks like an alarming error, but really it's not a big deal. So we're going to compile that, get that to upload. And normally it'll take a minute for the code to compile. So there is a very special video I like to show of a young lady doing some live coding.
Hello, my name is
I don't have audio.
And I'm going to show you everything you need to know to combine your own color for Jewelbot. These are of the colors we can use, but what if we want to use a different one? Go to Arduino.
It's way cuter to watch her code than me.
First, we're going to write void set up
All right, and this just buzzed to let me know it's done uploading, but we're going to watch Ellie code for a minute.
Next, we're going to skip a line and do void.
I don't know if you can see, but she's got a little Jewelbots logo set up in the back of her screen.
And the same thing. And do your own code. So now we're going to make a code. So first, I want to see what line would look like. So let's do line. Do LED space LED space LED turn on single.
And just for context, this is the original firmware update, so this is before there were all the cool colors, which were clearly not enough for Ellie, so.
What color of position you like. First, I'm going to do SW, green, and then finish it off. Next, we're going to do this again. LED, turn on, single.
She's gonna love this when she's older.
And same thing, pick a position, but we already have a position, so we are just gonna keep the same position and do a different color. I picked yellow. And do it one last time.
Also, since this video, she's actually done live coding on stage at a conference. So yeah, kind of makes you feel bad about what you were doing at that age. But this is what we were doing. We were creating the future engineers that are going to change tomorrow in the most amazing and brilliant ways. All right, well,
I'm going to do green again. That will make it more green. And now we have our program. This looks perfect. Let's press the magic button on our Jewelbot for 2 seconds. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. All of it should turn purple and click upload. Save, and it will compel. While we're waiting, let's do a new one.
all right.
First one I did was pink.
So, her videos are available. She has her own YouTube channel now, but they are available in the forums. But when you're starting to talk to girls about coding, like you talk about an amazing role model, have them watch this video. This is a girl their age, right, who's doing all these amazing things, and that means they can do them too. So kind of cool stuff going on. All right, let's see what's going on with my code. All right, so this is what it looks like when it programmed and executed, but it's not doing what I wanted it to do. Are you? I'm going to try it on yours real quick. I'll bring that up. Yeah, come on up, and I'll try putting the code on yours. Bloop, bloop. Sometimes they get cranky and you have to do it a couple times. But it's okay, because we're figuring out how to debug. Got it? Sweet. All right. So I'm going to do this one. Oh, no! See, I just broke it. These have been used and abused by me. Okay. All right, so I've got that. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. All right, we've got an upload mode. I'll go ahead and try and get that code on here. And while that uploads, we'll talk through a couple things about running workshops for girls in case you're super excited and you're like, yeah, Jewelbots for everything. And I don't have my clicker anymore. If you're interested, they are looking for more open source contributors to help out and really expand the library, but it's way more fun if you do it with kiddos. So our team that runs our coding and cupcake session, some of the women haven't had a lot of chances to work on open source. So we had downloaded one of the more recent firmware updates, and we noticed some of the code was on the friendship board, and I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't available on the solo coding board. And I was like, okay, great. This is a great opportunity to work on a pull request to kind of contribute. And so we walk through doing the pull request and updating the code to make it work right. And then we go to merge. And we realize we have been beaten to this pull request by 3 hours by Ellie. So we literally got beat to fixing a pull request by a young woman who is clearly far more proficient in Jewelbots than we are. So that was just like the most amazing discovery for our team in the middle of our meeting. But when it comes to mentoring and doing workshops with girls, a couple key things. Keep your hands off the keyboard. I know it's super frustrating, but they're going to learn more if they're the ones driving and they're the ones in control. So keep your hands off the keyboards. Let her make mistakes. I know it can be really easy to point out syntax mistakes right away or be like, oh no, you missed that. But she will learn more if you let her make the mistake and then help her step through the debugging process. Again, this goes back to the documentation. If she's like, hey, how do I make it rainbow? Don't give her the answer. Tell her how to go find it. Tell her how to figure it out. You know, if that includes Google, make sure Safe Search is on. But, you know, give her the resources, tools to find the answer when you're not around. Teach her how to read the documentation. You can help her create diagrams of her idea, especially when we start to do like more complex animations. You can actually kind of start to draw out and say which colors you want to go where, but it's perfectly fine to not be writing code all the time. We can think and we can structure what we want to make happen. Absolutely be patient. Huge for letting her make mistakes and not get flustered, because again, girls are just so many societal pressures. We're terrified to fail, so just be very, very patient. If you do want to run a workshop, a couple tips here. Make sure before the workshop everybody is aware of the technical requirements. Like I mentioned, a laptop with admin rights to download, has Wi-Fi and has a USB port, or if you have a newer Mac, a USB-C to include the USB port with. There was one Coder Dojo session where this kid came in with his dad's laptop, and it was like one of those old brick IBMs. I swear it was bigger than the kid's torso. And it had no Wi-Fi. He was like, do you have an Ethernet? And we were like, wow. Prep your mentors with guides and debugging tips, kind of let them know what's going on. If they've never worked with Jewelbots before, you can kind of send them the documentation ahead of time. Communicate the goals of the workshop. Explain what we're going to be doing and why. So when we talk about, you know, why are we holding the magic button down to upload our code? Why are we selecting boards? Why are we doing that? Make sure that you're bringing that context in so they understand what's going on. Know that installing the boards may take 10 to 15 minutes, and so especially if you have bad Wi-Fi at wherever you're running a workshop, that can be a problem. Be prepared for different learning speeds, and again, this goes to girls, you know, feeling bad for not being perfect, or getting really flustered if they're not learning as quickly as somebody else. Make sure that you're saying it just takes effort, and everybody learns at their own pace, and that's fine. Have a guide or curriculum strategy prepared. A lot of people really want something tangible that they can read down because they're going to feel more secure and more comfortable if they feel like they have steps they can follow. And have follow-up resources ready. This is huge. If they like what they do, you want to make sure that you can support them moving forward. And so you have the ready-made Jewelbots community where they can start to get involved and find more projects to work on. Expect some chaos. Expect a lot of chaos and have a blast with these workshops. I do a lot of blog posting. It's a running joke with my team. Where I do some blog posting about how to run successful workshops. So again, if this is the kind of thing that you'd like to do, feel free to hit me up about that. Here's some ongoing learning resources. Again, we've got the forums mentioned. There are actually STEM subscription boxes that people have started coming out, so you'll get a monthly box of just fun STEM projects and different things you can build. So I've got a couple linked up there. Little bits are more programmable robotic things that are fun. Girls Who Code clubs have started to get big in the US, and I've linked our Coder Dojo, Casey, and our Coding and Cupcakes websites here. You can definitely find more information about the way we run things. If you'd like to bootstrap your own in your city, feel free to use any of our resources. If you would like to get your own Jewelbots, you can use the discount code CodeWithJennifer at jewelbots.com for $20 off. I know they can be expensive overseas, so there is a link for a European distributor that you might be able to get a better price through. Okay, we've got 7 minutes left for questions, and here's the link to the slide, so all this information is available if you need it. Does anybody have, oh, sorry. And before I do that, let's see if I can get this to rainbow light like I want it to. Come back. Okay, something goofy's going on. All right, apparently my demo failed. Okay, well, it's being grumpy today, but I promise it works. Okay, any questions?
So do you have this kit in Australia?
Say what?
Is this kit available in Australia?
I would assume you can get it shipped here. The European distributor might be a better way to get it, so you can follow that link and see if it's decent price-wise. In the US, a single one goes for 69 USD, but you can get discounts if you buy bigger sets of them. Yep.
Why don't you make one for boys?
It's not that girly.
No, and because boys don't need special encouragement because they already feel like they belong in technology and do not need products geared towards them, because literally everything is built for boys in technology.
Maybe do another version like Northstar or something instead of Jewelbot. Make it gender neutral so that the boys also can actually cater to them.
Yes.
And start off by giving a demo first as to what it's going to look like at the end to the kids. So do you start off by just taking them through with you on what the different steps are? That's what they're going to get at the end.
Yeah, so we start off by having them pair with friends, and so we'll let them kind of do that and run all over the place, because sometimes we'll have to split them into groups to make sure they're not accidentally pairing with other people when you've got like a room full of 20 girls. So we'll get them pairing, and then we'll bring the group back together, and then we teach them how to message each other, and then let them go do that and bring them back together. And the reason we like to do that first is it kind of helps them understand, okay, what is the magic button? Like, what are the different actions or things that I'm doing going on? And so when we sit down to code, they have more of that context available. And then we'll normally start with a worksheet where they like change one LED color, and we have them pick the color, and so they can customize. And pretty much once you get past that first LED, you're going to have two kinds of kiddos. You're going to have the ones that want to follow the worksheet exactly and do everything, and then you're going to have the kids that are like, screw the worksheet, I want to do this and this and this and this and this. So yes, be prepared for chaos. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, because we're running the Coder Dojo session, so that was kind of with girls.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we found that when you do the demo, we've got a lot of questions as well.
Yeah.
Talking through it, they kind of rush to see what the end result looks like. So, you know, it's almost like chaos.
Yes.
Both,
Yeah.
just want to see what
Yeah, and we tend to staff with like a good amount of mentors, so we try and have like one mentor for every 3 kids, or if like your table's sectioned out, like a mentor per table, and that can kind of help the kids that are working at their own pace, and you can kind of look for that face of where they might be stuck and kind of step in and answer and help questions. And that way, if you need to spend more time with one kiddo one-on-one, they're the mentors available and floating to help. So that works for us really well. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. The way our cupcake sessions are run, it's kind of like one-off where they go to this and we're trying to encourage them to go to Coder Dojo or somewhere for ongoing learning because our workshops just repeat, but they're like, can we come back again and bring our friends? So yeah, definitely they're excited to go home and take them and play with other people. So we might be shaking up the way we do our curriculum in 2019 and setting it up more of a recurring fashion because the interest is there where they want to keep playing with them, but like the mentors, like we're like their security blanket, right? So, yep.
And I'm not quite sure how to phrase this. I'm still learning the proper language for it. But I wanted to talk just about gender and so it's a girls, and I get that. But with gender diversity, what I want to say is, are you getting many boys? It's not the right language though, right? Because we're not meant to be using binaries when we're talking about.
Okay, so like non-binary kiddos.
Saying, yeah, are you getting girls who aren't boys? No, that's not the right question. Hey, do you get boys? Do you get boys? Do you get the gender diversity as well in the girls clubs?
No.
I'm not saying it right at all.
No, you're fine.
Where I'm going.
Yes. I think one of our mentors, her kiddo, is non-binary, but I don't think they have the slightest interest in technology. Yeah, but not that I'm aware of so far. We might have more kiddos at our Coder Dojo. We do ask questions like that. The other problem that we have is we get maybe a lot of conservative families from a certain suburb in the US where we live.
So it's not really doesn't really come up.
No, and it's kind of, we've had interesting things because we'll collect demographic information and we do have like a question around gender and whether you're female, male, non-binary, or what you identify with. And sometimes the kid will be like, what does that mean? And you're like looking around for the parent being like, all right, how do I answer this question without this parent like, yeah, so, yeah. Someday all of society will catch up, but yeah. Yep.
As far as progression, like there's the Jewelbots, and like you mentioned, it's really nice that there's kind of a limited API that's kind of nice boxed in, and they don't. What do you see as like a progression for what's the next thing to learn? Like you mentioned the Coder Dojo or that kind of thing. What sort of?
Yeah, so Coder Dojo, we had a really interesting situation where we'd have the kids coming in and they'd be playing with Scratch all the time. And the parents were kind of complaining to us, and they're like, my kid always comes in and makes a Scratch project, like, you know, I want them to be doing more. And we're a nonprofit organization, we're completely volunteer run, so we're not a school, and I don't want my mentors to be like put in this position of bullying kids into like doing work they don't want to do. So what we found works really well is creating our mastery program. And so basically, if they have something they're proficient in, like Scratch or Jewelbots, we've created a checklist of, okay, you have to be able to do this and be able to do this and be able to do this, and like hit all these different points that we think show that you've mastered whatever this is, and then you can come up and present it on stage, walk through your code, explain everything, and you get a mastery badge. And so we've got these cute little pins that they can like pin that say what they are. And I swear to God, as soon as they get one pin, they're like, oh, I need to get the next one. And it's just like really amazing intrinsic motivator. And it's just like this silly piece of bling, right? But that's something that we use to kind of say, all right, here's how to go check out the next level. So like Jewelbots, if you get them figured out, maybe it'll be, hey, figure out a way to contribute to the open source. Like, you know, what could you do there? Or what kind of project could you build? Or build some sort of supplementary library, or maybe build a website explaining how to use Jewelbots, that kind of thing to keep them progressing. But yeah, we've found those badges are like really good motivators. We've got a girl, Riley, who's been with us for about 5 years now, and she doesn't even wear her badges anymore because she had gotten so many that like her t-shirt is like sagging off her body under the weight of all of them. So fun little things like that can help get them progressing without anybody feeling like a bully or like you're at school. All right, I think we are past time, and I don't want to be that jerk holding up the room. So have a lovely day, you wonderful humans.
Thank